What's up, Serve Watchers? This is Q&Andy, and as promised this week, we're going to try to figure out a little bit more of what a tournament director does. A friend of mine from a long, long time now, I think we met in 1994, if I'm not mistaken, Peter Lebedevs. When I played in Memphis and a bunch of other places, Peter was always someone that I really enjoyed dealing with. Now is the tournament director at the Nexo Dallas Open. How's the chaos meter getting ready for an event, Peter?
You know, the chaos meter here right now, Andy, is crazy. We've got 3 days before we go showtime, and we build this entire stadium in 10 days on a football field. So we now have, I think it's six little tractors out there working. We have guys working 24/7, 2 shifts, 7A and 7P. So it is about as crazy as it can be right now.
Is it a little bit predictable? Do you this time lane after so many years, or is there always just something that's going to creep up and be stressful?
Everything is always stressful. You know, look, Dallas, they said, come to Dallas, great weather. We've had snow and ice 3 out of the 5 years we've been here. So be very clear, you know, it's like, okay, the snow and ice is coming. Dallas isn't ready, shut down. Can't get the paint delivered to do the courts. That came yesterday. Others, you know, so there's always something. Bottom line is we need about another, 10 days on the front end to build it. But so yes, there's always something going on that's just crazy. You know, like I said, the paint was one that we had, this year alone that they couldn't get it in. Last year, the courts, because they're brand new courts, and they were stuck in Houston and fell off the side of the road on the ice that year. So always something going on. My phone blows up. I run out of battery after half the day. I just get that many calls during the day.
It sounds horrible. I was like,
you're doing this by choice, or are they holding you hostage?
Is this the goodness of your heart, or how's this work?
It's a great idea that you say that, because I always tell myself, you thought it was going to be good to come down here to Dallas and build this in 10 days. What were you thinking? But look, when you put it all together and you're sitting up there on Sunday night after the final and you go, this went to 160 countries around the world, and we're playing tennis, the greatest game there is. That part's satisfying. The stress beforehand, I got more gray hairs than I used to, that's for sure.
I guess anything worth doing should feel that way at some point, right? But talk about you're talking about building in a football stadium. Like, just to give our listeners context, in Memphis, it was a racket, like an actual racket club, where it was like you used the locker room that was at just like a tennis club. Right, and it had certain smells when you walked in. It was like everything was narrow.
Famous for that. Yep.
Everything was like narrow and tucked. There's like secret hallways that maybe for like you might step over like a skull. I don't know. There's all sorts of stuff buried in there. But talk about the transition from, like, you couldn't have 2 more opposite venues than Memphis and Dallas, and you're still expected just to put it on as if there's no difference.
Absolutely right. Look, this is the Dallas Cowboys HQ, their practice field for where the Cowboys play. So from one aspect, we have the most amazing technology here. So like the TV camera guys just plug and play. So all of those things are easy. Now, as you know, football here on high school, this is actually where they play their football games on Friday night, 12,000 seat arena. So we actually have 4 locker rooms. When Clay Snipeman came last year, Andy, he goes, oh my gosh, this training room is twice as big as the US Open training room. So we have some good things. But the fact is, it's on a football field. We had to design it. We're within 6 inches of being able to fit this whole thing in. We have 4 practice courts, 2 match courts. And so the design team that are you going backwards and forwards, and then you get the fire marshal. So it's a lot of stuff, but it's parts of this a little easier because of the operations team than Memphis, but you knew Memphis, and after doing it for 20 years, you absolutely knew where the skulls were and where the smells were, and so, okay, I can avoid that area. Here, every year we're finding out something new, but the staff here are fantastic helping us, but it's just, look, it's a tight timeline to build it, but in the end of it, it really is a great venue. The fact that the hotel is connected, you're going to come in here on Saturday, you will walk from your hotel room to center court, it will take you 4 minutes. And that's how close you are to it.
Yeah, it sounds super convenient. I think one of the things that I've enjoyed from being on this side of the microphone is, like, as a player, you kind of understand that it takes work to get stuff done, but it's just not in your orbit. And it's not because Well, maybe I was, but like it's normally not because you're like a prick or like you're, an asshat or something. It's just like you arrive and you're focused on practice, and if something's not right, then you're upset, right? So it's just different ways of seeing it. But I say that to throw myself under the bus before I say I'm sure all of the players fully understand the work that's put in and how thought out everything is. Correct, Peter?
I may not quite agree with that. The players give their post-tournament reports, and one time we didn't have enough balls for practice. I got 600 cases of balls. You can grab a
oh, that's
so
annoying.
they don't really get it on this side of the world. But again, they're not supposed to. I want them to walk in here and not think about anything. I mean, that's what I want them to do. If they can go and eat like they do, they'll eat where the Cowboys football players eat. That's as nice as it is, And so if I can make that easy, and that's what we're always trying to do, from your days of being in Memphis and all the other events we've played with, our goal is to make it as easy as we can for the players because look, they're F1 cars, they're athletes. We want to make it that all they have to focus on getting out there and hitting the ball as good as they possibly can and take away any of the obstacles that are around there. That's my job now to worry about all that sort of stuff and say, okay, we can get better food. We can get more of the electrolyte. I got pinged because I got to have more couches in the locker rooms. Okay, guys, you want more couches? I'll bring in more couches for you.
Is that just because Isner is going to play and he's like two people combined?
Could be, or him and Riley together.
Yeah.
But it's those are the little things that you get on there. But look, it's even I'm already talking to agents for next year trying to get to come to the event. Committing those things. People don't understand it's a full 365. This is the culmination of it all, but it's a full 365 and just working all the time.
Yeah, and explain that process real quick since you mentioned it. Right, I think people generally think that okay, there's a tournament, so the Americans are just going to go play it, and that's not the case, right? Like there's an option. Obviously, having the 500 designation is like a superpower. I was always going to play Memphis because it was the closest 500 that I could, knock out. And Peter knew that going into negotiation. He knew I was probably going to play there. Otherwise, I'd have to like fly to Beijing or something. So talk people through that thing where you're trying to contract players to come, and then maybe predict someone being good a year from now. Talk about all the moving parts with trying to put together the best field that you can in Dallas.
You're exactly right. I got a budget and I say, okay, got this number that I got to spend on these players. Who's our priority? So, I'll go down and look at that priority list. Obviously, top 10 is starting out, guys like Taylor and Ben, and Tommy's been there. And then I've also, really committed. We've got to get some European players to come over here. And as Max Eisenbud said on your podcast, that's a challenge from a taxation standpoint for the players in the US. I was talking to a particular agent in Australia trying to see, hey, can we do X, Y, and Z to change that tax for you? So that's where I start: budget, key players, and then we figure out what we've got left. But we don't really. I'd love to say it's a quick process, and the agents are pretty good about it. It's here's the number, here's what it is, and what can we do? But we didn't finalize all of them till, probably July, maybe even August, getting in there. But it's every player thinks they're worth this. And, even I got told, hey, well, you got to pay him the same because they'll talk in the locker room. And I'm like, well, if the ranking was the same, then
I was about to say,
okay.
I'm fine with them talking as long as they make sure to talk about the number next to their name too when making that.
Yeah. And also the truth. They let me tell you, it's a little bit of I get this. And an agent yelled at me one time, like, he ain't getting paid that. I can just tell you he is pulling your player's leg. So so that's what it goes down to all of the time. And, then it's just we get there and look, you and I have dealt with this before, and it's pretty straightforward. Here's the number. Here's what we want you to do. Can you do it? Okay. And the thing is, if you get that and don't try and, go around in circles for too long, those are the kind of agents that are fun, and most of the tennis guys are really good about that, honestly.
Yeah, so I'm excited. I haven't been to the Dallas Open before. I saw the previous iteration of the tournament when it was in Memphis. I played it, a million times. I'm playing. What are the teams for Saturday night? What are we calling this thing? What time does it start?
Well,
give us all the goss.
We're calling it the All-American Classic by Baker Tilly. So, it's all stud American players coming in there. It's the gates are at 7. The match is at 8 o'clock. And we have the ambassador in Mr. John McEnroe is going to be playing. And when I spoke to John, he said, look, let me choose my partner, because there was between you, John Isner, local guy, and Sam Querrey. And so Johnny Mac said, I want to play with Isner, the local guy. So it's going to be you and Sam, mate.
The only reason I have a problem with that is because down to do it, whatever. It's going to be fun. We're going to have a great time. There's half a chance Mac and I start talking shit, and who knows? It tends to happen sometimes. The only thing that I would have possibly wanted the chance to do, and I'm not saying we would have, but there was no downside. The thought of trying to get a piece of Isner and Querrey with someone as old as Mac. Oh my gosh! Could you imagine that amount of shit talk forever?
Rights?
But now
it's lifetime.
But now I'm on the other side. I'm going to be the nervous one who, if we lose to Sasquatch and McEnroe, then we have no, the bragging rights are completely out the door.
Yeah, you'll have to be eating some crow on that one.
That's fine.
And look, John, Isner's won like 1,000 tournaments. He's actually a decent doubles player. He hates to say it, but he's won a few of those events. And Johnny Mac, now John's 67, but he looks fit as a fiddle. So I don't know how he's going to hit. I don't know if you're going to drop your one. Well, I don't know. It used to be 150. What are we at to now?
I can't, sir. I can do everything else actually okay now. Serving's rough, but Mac, I'll tell you this, and like Mac and I love to go back and forth and give each other shit, and we mean a lot of it. But I will tell you I don't know that there's ever been anyone who's been as good post 50, 55 years old as Mac. He is insane, even to this day. Like, not affected by pace if you hit it at him. Obviously, movement goes, at a certain point. But he still has this, like, gross 118 lefty serve that makes you look stupid sometimes, and then he gives you a little look, and he's super effective still. Like, Peter, you've seen a lot of like former players, and a lot of us stink at a certain point. He's like as good as there's been as far as someone kind of aging well with skill.
100%. I mean, that serve of his is just, it's always been one of the huge things, but that is absolutely, as you said, it's still nasty. I also think the fact that John is just so competitive, he doesn't want to lose, ever. And so I think that's part of the reason he sort of kept himself in the shape and kept himself in the game like he has. But his hands, I think I saw him hitting some in Australia on a clip, and he still looks smooth and effortless. He makes the game look easy, and that,
We used to play all the one-nighters, and then we'll get to the questions that you listeners sent in for Peter. But we used to play I guess they call them Legends events, but it was like you'd go to a city and play one night. I called it the Tragedy Tour. It's where tennis went to die. But we'd play, and I was 2 years off of tour, and I retired young, and I won 2 out of my last 4 events on tour. And we'd play, and we played this thing for like 3 years, and we'd play, and I would go out, and I would normally beat Johnny Mac. I found my sweet spot for dominance, and it's just playing people 25 years older than me. But we would play, and if I won, he would be still to this, and this is what made him great. He's still pissed. Like everyone else is just like, I'm with Jimmy Courier. We're on the plane to the next place, ripping vodka sodas, and Mac's ripping vodka sodas, but with like a different intent. It's just
100%.
Gets so pissed still. But that's like, I see it. I'm like, I don't understand it. And then I'm like, that's probably why I wasn't as good as you, like as a starter pack. But
look, that was his thing. People, he wasn't mad. He's just so competitive. He hates to lose. That old, hates to lose. He hates to lose. I mean, he warmed up one time for an exo in us in Memphis, and man, he was ready to go, and he didn't want to be disturbed, and he was 100%. He's that way. But look, that's the greats always have that something special, and yourself, you always put yourself down, but mate, that serve of yours, that was something special, and that grit. You all have something, and he had that fight to hate to lose, and so
yeah,
that's how he's Johnny Mac.
Yes, anyways. I think my hands started sweating just thinking about Saturday. Right now, we haven't even gotten to the part where I have to return a serve from someone who's 8,000 feet tall. But anyways, it's gonna be a great time, Peter. Mike, what do we have for listener questions?
Well, you know what? One of the questions you already answered, so I won't ask it, was from Jason W. asking how soon you have to prepare for the tournament after it ends. So thank you for pre-answering that. But the next one is up from Racket Lifestyle. And this question, I think, does tie into the exhibition kind of concept a little bit, is in an evolving age of entertainment meets tournament, how much is the casual fan being catered to?
Look, that's a great question from a standpoint of we do it all the time. We've got to do something special at the event. We got the Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders coming out Friday night, and we're going to have the high school bands playing in the side. So it's like a Friday night lights. So somebody who doesn't necessarily love tennis, hey, come and see the cheerleaders. I do that. We're also doing a collegiate challenge for the doubles wildcard. We've got a team from TCU, Baylor, A&M, and SMU. They're going to play off, and whoever wins that little playoff is going to get into the main draw. So trying to bring in college people. So, they don't necessarily have to love tennis. So it is a huge part of it. And with the influencers, so, that's probably the difference maker for us for being successful or not. The tennis stalwarts, they're coming. I mean, tennis started in Dallas with, WCT and Lamar Hunt at SMU. That was the beginning of pro tennis. So we have those fans. They're fantastic. It's those marginal ones. And so it is a huge part of our planning strategy as we go forward every year. That's probably almost half of it now.
How it seems like, and I don't know if we're just back into it, but it seems like over the last 3-4 years, and this was something I would have bet, I said I would have lost my house, but the mainstream interest in tennis seems like it's gone through the roof in the last 3-4 years. And I mean, does that affect the Dallas Open as well as the US Open and the Oz Open, or is it a little bit more siloed?
It definitely helps us, and like, if the guys do well in Oz and, those semifinals we had in Australia, my gosh, greatest tennis, everybody's talking about it. So it definitely helps. The part that really makes an influence for us is if I had one of those guys that played in the last 4 was coming to Dallas, then I'm through the roof. But anything that's that positive about tennis is definitely good. And look, that's what you talk about, the lengthening of the thousands and all these things. People are showing up, people are doing more. Fans, all those events are getting more people there. So tennis is on a huge upswing, which everybody's worried. What happens after the top 3? And guess what? There's always somebody that steps up. Did we know they're going to be this great? I don't think so. But it's it's an amazing how we're still just rolling and rising with this tide, honestly.
Well, this great and this entertaining. That's an important caveat. What else we got, Mike?
All right, I'm glad that you brought up SMU, and I'm glad you brought up the doubles wild card, because the next question was from Alvaro. He asked, does marketability influence your decision in giving out wild cards, or is it your prospect? Would a foreigner be at a disadvantage? And this is kind of a 2-part question, so interested to hear both of this. Would a foreigner be at a disadvantage over an American when considering a wild card opportunity with the Dallas Open?
Oh, that's a tricky one, but a very good question. Look, we definitely consider a combination of things on that. We say, okay, we want to support American tennis. So if it's a toss-up between somebody, definitely going to lean towards an American. But at the same time, I'm also, okay, who is the up-and-coming guy? João Fonseca. Spoke to his agent last year. You're looking for those guys. So we definitely do that. If it's a toss-up, definitely go with the American. If I see somebody who's up and coming, years ago, Nick Kyrgios, we gave him a wild card in Memphis, and he'd just done something great in Oz, and so I gave him a wild card. People gave me a bit of a hard time. He did. This is when he was young.
Good for you. Way to go. You're a great tournament director.
Yeah. This is when he was young, Andy, when he was still, very, very good on that stuff. And, people gave me a hard time, and I said, look, I went into the press room and said, who are you going to write a story about? And I had some Americans and him, and they all went him because he just did something. So you got to go with what sells tickets to an extent, because that's what keeps the whole motor running. It's nice to say support these guys, but characters sell tickets in a sense, and so it's not always the ranking, but definitely helps. You got to have the ranking. But a few of those guys that are at the lower level, I say lower level, it's a bad thing to say, but and Nick sells tickets, whether you like it or not. He sells tickets. So a little bit of both, but definitely favor the American players for our Nexo Dallas Open for sure.
Yeah, and one thing I'll just say, because I understand how a lot of the wild card stuff works. Like if the Dallas Open, if you get someone he used Fonseca as maybe come. Okay, that affects the Brazilian market, which means that the Dallas Open is more successful, which means that it's around for it's sustainable. It's here. It's hopefully here in 30 or 40 years. So it's not in a silo each time, American versus not American. If you get a star who's hyped, you have to give them that ticket. But obviously in a tournament in America, and this is no different than any other place, in Australia, you're going to favor the young Australian prospects because that's normally better for Aussie tennis. If you get someone who's outsized as far as like star power, or maybe someone who is not as good as they were, but is still a pull, like that's different, right? If a former Slam champion comes in, all of those things matter. But yeah, I mean, he's right. Everywhere around the world, tide goes to the market.
Yeah, it has to.
Yeah.
Last question is actually from the serve team, and we're all curious of how long you've known Andy for and what embarrassing story you can tell us about him so we all can laugh at him on a regular basis.
Well, I was a coach for Andy on his Challenge Cup team when he was 12 years of age down in Florida, and he was the number one on the team. Robbie Ginepri, who was another top 20 guy, was number two on the team. When they were 12 years of age, who knew what they were going to be that good? I don't really have any embarrassing stories. I'd love to say I do.
You're a good friend.
Kind.
But look,
you already got him to sign he's coming. You can tell us the story.
No, I know. It's a little work there. It took us a few emails. Wasn't the first one, let me tell you. But look, I still to this day, Andy played the final in Memphis. I'm going to tell this story. And, as the doubles final is on, and they get a call from Dougie Spreen, his trainer. Hey, Peter, need to see you in the locker room. It's never a good thing when the trainer says that to you. So I go down there and he goes, hey, he's asleep. He tried to hit some balls. He hit 3 balls and he's done. We'll wake him up 5 minutes before and see if he can go. And I'm like, oh my gosh, so we get TV together, get everybody going to come up with a strategic plan. And he walks out there in Memphis and he's coughing his guts up. He looks like white as a ghost. He goes out there, 7-6. Wins the first set against Raonic, just dropping bombs. Has a match point in the second set. Raonic saves it and wins the second 7-6. And then they go to the third, and Andy hits a match point forehand passing shot at 6-5 break point down the line, fully airborne, where he is not touching the ground for the winner. So we go from at 1 minute not having a match to having our longest, greatest final with the greatest match point ever. Even though it was number 2 on Tennis Channel for the year, that shot, I still say it was number 1. So that's where a guy, look, Novak smacked forehand against Fed when he's basically tanking it went in. But, look, so I only have positives. Andy's always answered the bell, and so I can only say positives. And yes, he's already signed, so I don't need to say it. But, he's great for, he's been great for tennis and, look, good friend and excited to have him here for our All-American Classic.
Yeah, it's amazing how relationships they start, they come, they go, they ebb, they flow. Listen, with Peter, our conversations, we don't always have to agree on whatever the other person says on email, but I often also don't wonder if he's telling me the truth when he sends something. So hopefully that is the same. Peter, I look forward to seeing you on Saturday. Everyone go is at dallasopen.com, Peter. Is that right?
Yep. Get your tickets for the Nexo Dallas Open at dallasopen.com. We got a few great VIP seats available during the week, and we'd love to see everybody out there and looking forward to seeing you here, Andy.
All right. I can't wait to see you. I'll see all of you hopefully on Saturday. Let's make sure that the serve listeners come out and heckle the nothing major guys, even if I'm on Sam's team. We can ramp this up a little bit. I
think we're gonna have Blair Henley's gonna be there too. She's under the served banner. I think we're gonna gang up on her.
Let's get all the chuckers and let's make a scene. Let's see if we can do it. Peter, I'm looking forward to seeing you. Thanks for having me in Dallas. Look forward to it, and best of luck with the tournament.
Appreciate it. Thanks,
Cheers,
guys.
Thank you. All right, Peter. Thank you. Good luck with the event in Dallas. Looking forward to being there on Saturday again. Tickets, dallasopen.com. We have more questions?
We have some more questions, some AO topical questions.
AO relevant questions after the break. All right, we are back. Q&Andy, producer Mike. Let's do this shit.
Yeah, man. So we have a few questions on the backside of that great conversation with Peter. First one up is Kathleen from Middlebury, Vermont. A little qualifier. She was clearly watching a match and she didn't know what was about to happen, but to preface it, here's her question.
Hey, Andy from Middlebury, Vermont. I've got Djokovic Musetti on here. It's a little past midnight. I already know I'm going to stay up way too late watching this match. And it prompted me to ask, like, what do your days look like during Grand Slams? Are you just watching tennis 24/7? Are you sleeping? Like, what's going on over there? How much tennis is too much tennis? My little brother also wanted me to ask/mention that at the 2004 Davis Cup in Charleston, you signed one of those massive tennis balls for him. And he specifically wants to know why your autograph was so bad. Apparently, it was so illegible that when he showed his friends, they didn't even believe that you signed the ball. Anyways, thank you for a great pod. Hoping for a 5th set battle here. Who needs sleep anyways?
You want to know what? She got sleep that night.
She got sleep.
So I'll tell you, still looks the same. It's just scratch. It's not. It's just this is. I was born this way with this handwriting. Yeah. So Aussie's hard, right? I think you go as late as you can, and watch as much as you can early, and then I would normally get up a little bit early, and then scrounge for. I would rewatch matches. I would. Film matches, you can cut a lot of time out of matches if you wake up early and you skip switchovers and you skip between points. Matches are like 20, 25 minutes then, right? So I think that's one cheat code. But yeah, I mean, it's, I'll tell you what though, time zones are easier to deal with doing a podcast than playing tennis.
I bet.
I'll tell you that much. But no, I love watching tennis. There's no such thing as too much tennis. The only challenge with Oz and us shooting, from studio is the time change trade-off. And frankly, like when the matches are their first rounds and stuff, you can't watch 64 matches. Like it's like actually impossible. So you do the best you can. AO does a great job with their highlight packages. You can tell a lot from the statistics. Percentages you can start creating, especially if you already know the players. So I watch as much as I can and then kind of cheat code it, skip when they're already finished, don't look at the results, wake up, and then kind of skip over the switchovers in between points.
Nice. Next up is Steve. He asked, I noticed both Alcaraz and Sinner were wearing yellow at AO. Doesn't the color yellow affect the way opponents can see a ball? Should it be prohibited to wear yellow?
Yeah, he's spot on. Yellow is the most annoying color because you're trying to, the reason you'll never see a yellow backdrop on a tennis court is because you can't track the ball. Now, it's a very small thing, their shirt size or whatever it is. I remember Adidas one year had like this neon yellow, which was like impossible. And I think in a moment of frustration, I probably said the same thing. I don't know that you can ban, green or a color, but yeah, it's sometimes a pain in the ass.
Wasn't a tennis ball white until television?
Well, only at Wimbledon, I think.
Wimbledon?
And then, so like.
And they wore all white.
Yeah, and it used to be a green court. The reason why most courts aren't green now, the majority of hard courts, is because they want the contrast of falling the ball against like a dark blue type situation. So yes, contrast is the friend of someone trying to pick up a ball. So yeah, yellow is not great.
Next up is from our friend Niraj Mehta. Is it fair to say that Carlos has advanced and changed tennis with the drop shot as much as Steph Curry advanced/changed basketball with the three-point shot? If not, who gets the credit?
Yeah, I don't know that it surpassed Steph's three-point shot just because, like, what do you see a drop shot once every 3 or 4 games? Whereas, like, Steph, it's like there's a threat of it every possession. And that's the thing that's changed is, like, the threat of Carlos's drop shot screws you for when he has to open up the shoulders. Like, they work in lockstep. Even when he's not using it, you still have to account for it. So it's completely changed it. Like you have Sinner going, it reminds me of the scene in Happy Gilmore, like when Happy Gilmore's just hitting bombs because he's walking up to the golf ball. And then there's that cutaway of Shooter McGavin trying it in the woods. That's like everyone. Like Sinner's like, I'm working on my drop shot because of Alcaraz. Yeah. Like he's created, I think Steph's 3-point thing. I don't either or. I don't know. You could argue it. I tend to lean, I guess, Steph. Because that's like the basis of his game as opposed to like, the basis of Carlos' game is never going to be just the drop shot. He could probably win a slam without a drop shot and he couldn't win a slam with only a drop shot. And Steph probably has to shoot threes, right? But yeah, it's that copycat effect. I mean, he's definitely affected change and there had to be some way to shake up to set up the forehand when everyone's big, strong, fast, and can move and defend, right? He kind of figured it out. And now you're seeing everyone else try to do it. Like, I remember when I was playing, like, even coaches, it was almost like an irresponsible, like, showboaty type shot. Like, if you missed one on a big point, you were going to get your ass chewed out. Like,
yeah, that's like the kid coming down and shooting from like
100%
from the logo, and you're like, what the hell are you doing?
And then Steph comes.
Yeah.
And then just is like, deal
Not
with
every
it.
coach is like, try it.
Just, yeah, it's analytics. Yeah, but I think the comp that you're making, whether or not either or, I don't know, but like, I think the comp and the sentiment is spot on. Like, crazy talents with a crazy skill that make everyone else crazy.
That's it. That's all we got.
It's been Q&Andy. We'll see you next week.